Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Mortgage Heroes Weekly Podcast. I'm Andy.
I'm Brian.
I'm Will.
Hey, you guys, we're all back together this week. I'm really excited. I don't want to overstate it and come out out of the gate super hot, but man, I'm glad to have you all here together today.
He's like, I'm so excited to have you guys back.
Well,
I'm excited to be back.
You guys were gone, so
I know.
you just got back from Michigan. What the heck were you doing in Michigan?
I know.
Shwakan?
Yeah. We're out there visiting one of the biggest brokerages in
One
the
of the
nation.
biggest lenders in the whole United States,
Yeah.
and they own over 3.5 million square feet.
Okay, I'm going to
of
correct you. I'm going to
just
fact check you right there.
It's
Okay,
3.5.
fact.
3.2?
It's 2.2 million of just office workspace. At UWM, and then it's 800,000 square feet to make it 3 million and that other 800 is for basketball courts. They have a soccer field.
Like activities and stuff?
Yeah.
Dang.
Sure, it wasn't
That's
Yeah,
crazy.
2.2 and I know it's a 3.
Okay,
Either way.
Here's the
Either way.
What are you
Okay.
talking
Over
about?
3,000
There's
square feet.
500,000, whatever. I'm sorry I had to make it a big deal here. Fact check. You know, the place is
It's
ginormous.
big.
So
It's
what
huge.
were you doing at UWM, guys?
You know, well, here we are, always trying to just improve the way we are, the way we conduct business. What kind of loan products are out there for us to offer our clients? You know, they're big in refinance purchase, which makes them one of the top lenders in the nation.
Yeah.
You know.
It was a really refreshing experience getting to meet a lot of other loan officers from other areas, speaking about their markets, what they're doing, what's working for them, what's not working for them, their struggles, their wins. So that was actually
Awesome.
really cool. I think that was probably one of the best things from the trip, being able to combine minds, talk to some really cool people and meet some awesome people. And it was just, really nice to be surrounded by an awesome community overall. So,
That's so cool.
We had a great time. I can not even
It was
express
great,
enough.
Andy.
Yeah.
Even when it came to the owner of UWM, how humble he is, Matt Ishba.
Yeah.
He now owns the Phoenix Suns. I mean, the guy was just so humble.
He just
so
owns
easy.
the Suns.
Yeah.
Also the WNBA team. The
So,
WNBA team.
one of our-
Oh, really?
Yes.
Yeah, one of our coworkers, he actually said like, "Hey, I have a question." So he raised his hand and he asked for, "Hey, can I get tickets?" And he's all, "Of course, maybe not season tickets, but I'll get you a ticket, no problem."
Give
He
you
made
tickets?
it so simple, right, Andy? I mean, Brian,
That's
it was
crazy.
just like
Oh, yeah.
it was great. It was just
That's
felt
awesome.
good to be surrounded
Yeah.
by good quality people
Yeah.
in general.
That's so
Then
cool.
they show you the whole facility. It's all open. So you know how we are used to having office space?
Yeah,
Over
yeah.
there, it's open, Andy. And so they have their department, their division, like underwriters here, customer support there, da-da-da-da-da. And it's all open. I'm like,
Wow, that's
Brian
pretty
and I
cool.
could not work there. We would be like,
Yeah.
I'm like ADD. I ADD, so there was so much.
Just for reference, even our show right now is in 3 different boxes.
yeah.
And then our offices are in the same boxes. I just realized our offices are in the same order. Oh my God,
But it was
we're terrible.
good. We did have to share a room.
Yep.
And this guy and I, we just kept talking and talking because we're so excited, and it was the best.
I'm realizing that maybe the three of us don't share space well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, we've done that in the past, but it was great.
Oh,
I mean,
that's so
there was a
cool.
lot of tears there too,
Yeah,
a lot
it
of
was good
emotions
times.
going
Good.
on. Good times.
I'm glad
We'll
you guys
share
are
that
back.
later.
We have some really important things to talk about today, so we're going to get right to it because you guys, a lot has changed in just the first week and a half, 2 weeks after the election. So we're going to actually start there because of course, it's about housing, and it's about inventory, and it's about Trump. So the first article today is from Housing Wire. It's Trump's plan to build houses on federal land explained. So first, I want to make sure that this is understood, that the federal land is not all considered the same. It's not all preservation. It's just federal land. It's just owned by the government. It's not all designated and can never, or designated as never being able to be built, as some of our areas around here are.
Yeah, exactly.
We have
have
like natural preserves.
Exactly.
So we're going to get into some of the details here, but like, what do you guys initially on the top of this? What do you think about the plan to build on federal land? Do you think the government should be selling land to private entities to develop and build inventory? Like, what's your initial impression of this? What do you think?
Well, if we know what the problem is and they're not doing it, then why not have someone else come in and actually, be able to do it at a scale, or be able to do it profitably, or, just be the, the champion at that, because that's what they specialize in. The government has so much things that they are responsible for. So I don't know how, they haven't, if they know that's the problem, that we need more land to be able to have more inventory to be able to build, then I think if they're not doing it, someone has to do it, because we know
somebody
that's
has
what's
to do
needed.
I mean, exactly. We're going to benefit from it. I mean, in 2018, we were short 2.5 million homes.
Yeah.
Right? If you fast forward to today, 6.5 years later, we're at between 6 to 7 million homes that
Short.
are short. Like, this is just unacceptable, right? So that's why we haven't seen the 2008, because again, it's simple economics, supply and demand. There's not enough homes.
So I think part of the disagreement that could happen here is what federal land should be used, and then how should it be used? Like, how are we going to get there? Because I think everyone understands we have a housing inventory issue, so we need to build more properties. But I think how you do it is really going to be where there's the contested parts, because part of what they're talking here about is like tax cuts. Reducing mortgage rates is more of a secondary effect, because that could help affordability. But reducing regulation is another one, allowing developers to bid on land. So, like, what do you guys think are some of the good ideas about the federal land idea, and what are some things you think maybe are not so good?
Well, definitely don't build in remote areas where nobody wants to live.
Well, actually, so can I actually make a comment about that? I was thinking about that in preparation for the show. I was thinking, there are places that might be too far off the grid to be on the grid, like legitimately on the grid, which then that makes it cost more to have our utilities done there. But like if it's like right next to a place that's already developed, you can kind of extend your utilities in that space. That might be a more efficient way. Yeah. But if you're going to places that don't have that stuff piped and ready, you're going to end up with
so like what you're saying is don't build in Death Valley, right? As you're going to Vegas.
Definitely not.
Yeah, except who would Phoenix and Vegas. Yeah, except people do, right?
But like how you mentioned earlier, not all federal land is like non-buildable. So I feel that the areas like he mentioned, if it's close to a suburb, close to a city that's already able to have more room for people to be able to come in and build, then I think that's the smartest area. Just don't go selling land that doesn't need to be sold, but the land that makes the most sense to build on to be able to
correct. The other thing is we have to figure out how to incentivize these builders to want to build, right?
That's a great point.
An interesting thing that I found here, which Patrick Vince David was talking about, is in the 1970s, we built an average of 418,000 homes a year. Today, and those are just entry-level homes, right? Homes that are built, within 1,400 square feet or less.
Sure, starter homes.
Now what he's saying is there's only 55,000.
Oh, I didn't see that.
So
dang, wait. 480,000 you said?
418,000.
Oh, 418. Sorry,
418,000 units, entry-level homes,
Wow.
So, why would we decrease that, Andy? Like, why would we decrease?
Well, I think there's arguments for a lot of different reasons why that's happened.
Yeah.
But I mean, some of them right off the top of my head is you have the incentive, like you're talking about. Like, how much does it cost? What's the risk factors? Where can you build? And because, look, I think we need to be honest about the situation. I think, first of all, let me make this comment. I think that we've gone through such a long season of intellectual dishonesty that we need to be real about this.
Correct.
Let's be real. Some areas are not currently available to develop because of bureaucracy.
Correct.
It's red tape. So if one of the proposals is to deregulate some of that so that these places can be freed up to then be built on, then maybe that's incentive for builders.
Yeah.
I think it's also partly on the builders too, because they have to decide to want to be in that business. I don't know how many builders have gone out of business in the last 40 years. I just don't.
Well, I think
it might have been a lot.
I think the builders became very cautious in the 2008. Remember how much was being built around here?
Yeah.
A lot of builders got out of the industry because of that. They had to seek for bankruptcy.
Yeah.
Overbuilt.
Well, and there was a lot of time. We're doing both things at once. We're building a lot of inventory, but we're also putting people into homes that weren't actually qualifying by the standards that we qualify people now. So it was a mismatch, if you will, in the rearview mirror. But I think it's not just one. My point in saying this, it's not just one angle of the argument. It's multiple variables here. So I think that the deregulation could be helpful. And of course, I think that could be problematic on some sorts too, because if you give them an inch, they'll take a mile.
Exactly.
Right? So on that aspect, I mean, there's going to have to be some sort of oversight and some sort of protective measures for places that are protected and secured preservation so that they are not used for ulterior motives of capitalism, if you will.
If you really think about it, if they're building 418,000 homes and growing in 55, it's not like our population decreased.
No.
Right?
No.
I mean, back in 1970, we had about 200 million people, and now we're at 340, more or less. So it's like we need more homes.
Yeah. The rate of development,
at the rate that we're developing, we're just not going to catch up.
Yeah, the rate of development is significantly slowed. I think part of that is it's not the appetite, though. It's certainly not the appetite of the American buyer, because we love it. We love homes. We want to buy homes. We want to have a shelter overhead. Like, that's kind of this whole thing. We've had an entire 50 plus years of the American dream. When you say that, everybody knows what that means. It's not. There's not some new American dream. Well, unless you're talking to younger people, the new American dream is like freedom and flexibility of things. But
it's different.
Traditionally, what does the American dream mean?
It's different.
What does it mean traditionally?
Family, security.
having a house.
Yeah.
Right.
So back at that time, this is another little fact that I love that freaking what he was talking about, because it makes perfect sense of why we're trying to get this. Why, our president debate, like they didn't debate that we need housing. When it came to Kamala and Trump, it was like that was one of the most important things is how do we develop. Back in that time, it took a person 2.5 years to save up for a down payment. Fast forward today, it's taking 8 years, 7 to 8 years.
Wow.
8 years. Well, that's also
7 to 8 years.
And that 8 years includes also the increased cost of all the other things across the board and the
Exactly.
price of the house you're trying to buy.
Exactly.
Oh, man. Hey, if you could have bought a house 8 years ago, would you have?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your savings every year got to adjust for the cost of
Right.
Oh my
And
gosh.
if you really think about it, what was the average sale of a home at that time?
50 to 60, 70.
$23,000. You guys imagine
Listen.
that, right?
Listen, in 8 years, all my kids are out of the house.
Yeah.
I don't need a house no more.
And we keep going back to this, but that's what we're saying. Nowadays, we're starting to see more of the parents helping their kids with the down payment. We've been seeing a lot of that.
Yep.
And now we're understanding why.
So if you think
Get them out of the house.
So if we have kind of inventory. If we have incentive on one side, what are some of the things that would incent builders? Obviously making money, but like what are the things that we need to get our arms around in order to make this happen?
Yeah. I mean, again, it's like allow the builders to be able to keep that revenue for them, right? And not be able to tax them so much for how they're building or the materials they're obtaining. Like, I think a lot of it has to do with the taxation, how much they're going to take home. And I think with this new rule, what they're saying is like, we're going to allow them to take home money now. So that's going to be like an incentive.
I just thought of, how here in San Diego, they have the ADU program where if you pick from the pre-approved permit, you have a fast track permitting process.
Yeah.
Or not pre-approved floor plan. You get the fast track. I wonder if you could do that at scale. In some of these areas that maybe they have had recent development in the last 5 or 10 years, and maybe the safety standards are still there. Maybe you can dust off some of that and then just continue that building.
I
that
agree.
might be I didn't think about that beforehand.
Easier way.
That might be a way to actually expand into some other areas and kind of just pull it off the shelf and then go redo some of that stuff. Be real on that play.
Very true. Yes.
I'm a little bit hesitant because I don't know the answer about like what material costs are. Like what they're going to be in the new year, because again, there's always talk about taxes and tariffs, and inflation's kind of still sticky, even though they're not using the word. I'm gonna say it's sticky. The inflation's sticky, but I do think that's going to be one of those things where you kind of have to keep an eye on, because if the cost of goods and the cost of labor don't come down, it's going to be harder for those builders to justify.
No, exactly. Well, we're already seeing it. If you look at the average buyer buying a home right now, what's their age?
I don't even know.
Anywhere 28 to 36.
38. 38 years old is the average right now.
I was going to say 24 to 60.
So you're saying earlier right now, my daughters are gone in 8 years. Well, I don't know that necessarily they're going to be able to buy a house at that time.
Oh, they're still going to be with me?
Yeah, pretty much.
You girls, you hear that? Okay.
Yeah, I know Ashton and Dylan will.
I'm talking to the camera like they're watching this show. My girls ain't watching this. Okay, so what else do you guys got your eyes on when it comes to this? Like, are there any things you're like, hey, we better be you're wary of anything? Are you concerned about any of this? Or are you like all for it?
Yeah, no, I mean, I know it also talked about affordable housing. And so, how a lot of people say, yeah, we're all for affordable housing. And I love the article says, well, when it comes to building affordable housing of where like these senators, these people live, they don't want it there. Right? They don't want it there. And we already see how much affordable housing we have here in our area. In front of Walmart, there's one. It's not so bad.
You know what? Well, I mean,
it's that selective support part. Like, I'll support it if it's in someone else's neighborhood, right?
But I did like how it actually says that. It cracked me up.
But also, like, unfortunately, even though like I could tell why people would say I don't want low housing in our area. I mean, not everybody that comes is going to be a bad a bad egg, but there is chances that crime might increase a little bit, and people are like, I would rather not want that, rather than somebody that is a regular family, they're able to afford. You got to look at it both ways.
Well, I think that's a lot of social stats that you're playing with, because every municipality, I'm not saying you're wrong, it's just every municipality is different. Like if you go to Escondido, they're going to have a different crime rate than they're going to have in Del Mar, they're going to have in La Mesa, than you're going to have in Chula Vista. So there's just demographic differences too, based on population of concentration of population as well as the total population itself. Like, I don't know that a lot of people really understand that Chula Vista is the second largest city in the entire county by population. Yeah. It's the city of San Diego, number one, actual San Diego proper, and then Chula Vista. Yeah. So then kind of like after that, it's like, you're talking about like pieces.
And look how much we're building, and we have a lot of affordable housing around us,
Yeah, there has to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so dense.
And I think it's going to be a part of whatever the plan is. They're going to say, hey, you want to do this? So you want to be in on it? Cool. You want to be in on the, I'm going to say it. If you're going to be in on the take, you're going to have to do something as part of it too. So you're going to have to allot X percentage of places that are going to go to low income housing or government subsidized housing. And that's just going to that's just going to be the way it is.
I actually recall trying to submit offers on certain houses, and it says, hey, this is a low income housing. You got to have 5 people or more. You got to verify that everybody lives there. You got to have a utility bill. So, and I had one of our buyers, can we get this? I'm like, you're missing about 5 people in your family, man. But that's what they said right away. Like, you need to have all these characteristics to be able to get approved.
I mean, I have a friend that it's a 3-bedroom. It's a 3-bedroom property, and they pay $1,100.
Yeah.
Where are you going to get that? You know, back in the day, I mean, they increase your rents gradually, not like 5%, whatever, you know, but they increase them gradually. And when they first started, it was like 8 and change. I'm like, listen, your mortgage payment right now is going to be easily for something like that. It's going to be like $5,000 to $5,500.
Yes. Yeah.
So I think you're in a good place right now.
I do think that inventory coming to the market will help. But again, let's be realistic. This isn't going to be tomorrow. It's not a light switch, and it's not like you're buying something off the shelf and you're just like plopping it there. This is going to take time, because even once you like grade the land, it still takes. There's a long runway for handing the keys to someone in a brand new home. So even if some things get enacted right away, it will not see the market for another 18, 24, or even 36 months.
Exactly.
Let's be real.
You know, with this article, what I like about it, it put everything in perspective. It talked about even, you know, with migrant workers, people who don't have documents, you know, and we have a lot of construction people that work here that don't have those documents and are working here. So it's going to affect the cost of all that stuff. So we have to be strategic. The tariffs that they're trying to implement here, right? Like, all that stuff is going to have a huge impact. So I like that they put that in perspective for the normal person to just read and see and understand.
I'm glad you brought that up. I almost forgot about that part in there, but it's the cost and it's also the speed, you know, because if let's say we lose a certain percentage of the workforce that's already helping in this area, then that's going to delay then. And you see this in even more minor construction projects. We're like, we're down from 4 guys this week to 2. Okay, well, guess what? Half the work's getting done this week. Now your project takes longer.
And these builders have carrying costs for all that.
Oh, yeah.
So all of this is important. They need to meet the timelines because they need to close out a certain time. Because remember, they get investors. They made a promise to an investor that you're going to get X amount of rate of return for your investment. And that's why they're going even to a private sector, which they can build for cheaper because this is what they're able to do.
Yeah, I know we are definitely more on the side of being builder sympathizers, you know, but you know we need housing, so I am going to lean towards them providing fair and decent housing at a good price. So anything that will help bring that to the market is going to be welcomed by me.
Yeah, I mean, I put a good idea. If the plan were to move forward, the federal government, which controls about 650 million acres of land, would invite developers to bid on parcels provided they commit to maintaining a percentage of units of affordable rates for local communities.
Yeah.
I think that's great.
Yeah, they should do that. I think it has to be part of the plan because again, if you just like open Pandora's box and there's no regulation, that's a bad idea. But if it's too tight, that's a bad idea too. So I think we need to meet somewhere in the middle on that. We're going to move right over to the next thing. Realtor.com. This article struck my eye because I don't know that I entirely believe the claim. Here's the claim right up front. Right now may be the best time for home buyers in 5 years. Is this the best time for home buyers in 5 years, guys?
Well, let's figure
like
it
point blank, yes or no?
I mean, I think of what the article specifies, I think it is a good time right now because you're not going through all the bidding wars. Remember, after the 2018 and on, you had bidding wars. People are bidding $100,000, $200,000 more for a home because they were selling their homes in, let's say, San Francisco, coming over here and just buying it outright. And they're like, well, wait a minute. I can go ahead and buy this outright and not even worry about it. This is my forever home. So we saw a lot of that stuff. So I think right now with rates being higher, expecting that with time they'll go lower, their payment will reduce. So I think right now for me, I agree with that.
Yeah, I'm gonna lean on that side as well. And you know, like it says right there, in the waning weeks of 2024, it might be your moment. I kind of agree because the people that are desperately selling or in a predicament to sell or need to sell, they're going to be more reluctant to take a lowball offer to ease up a deal or makes the transaction happen because they got to go do whatever they got to go do. So I think in these last couple of months, you could snag up a good deal if you negotiate it right. You do your homework. You utilize the data that you have in the market. How long that property's been on the market for, and you put that into your offer, and you ask for the right things, I think you have a good shot of snagging yourself a good deal.
Okay.
I agree. I mean, in 2022, not so far off, we had under 250,000 homes available nationwide.
Right.
Currently, we have a little over 720,000.
Yeah.
It's a big difference.
Substantially more.
Again, it becomes supply and demand, right? The more supply you have, the buyers have more options to go look at other homes. And I feel like, do I have to make this my dream home?
Right.
Even though I like it, but I'm not in love with it.
Well, that's one of the things that was interesting to me in this article, and them kind of like stating their case, was that, this buyer that they surveyed, they were able to find a number of houses that had all the features they want, and they got to pick from the several, I think it was 2 or 3, and pick the one of those 3, where before it was what you're saying. I just got to buy a house, and then when you think it's missing, I'll have to add.
Correct.
It doesn't have a pool? Make a pool. It needs a second story? Add a second story. Build a whatever. But now with the inventory coming up, and then also sellers, I'm not going to say being desperate, but being more eager to work out a deal. I think we see that happening too.
Of course.
Sellers with concessions, sellers doing some price reductions, and buyers now having some selection. I think that instead of the scale being tipped one way and one way only in the seller's direction, I think it's evening out a little bit more right now.
I mean, we had the most price reductions that we've had in a long time. And that's just, again, we talked about this in the past. It's because there's more homes available, and therefore the clients, remember, the market's going to depict what your home is worth based on the buyer that's willing to pay that price for that home.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And so we have a lot of sellers right now that we know, and their houses are still on the market, and they've been on the market for 6-7 months. And now we see the price reduction on them. The price, it was just too high.
Yeah.
The market wasn't, willing to cooperate at that point in time.
Yeah. I think we have a fresh batch of buyers, and I think that we're going to see even new buyers in 2025. I think once we get into the new year and people kind of actually start seeing some of the policy changes actually come into place, I think that will actually get some people off the fence and go, you know what, this is it, I'm going to buy. So part of, I guess, what was confusing to me when I saw this right now, like I'm thinking in this snapshot in time, like right now, November 2024. Honestly, I think spring and summer of next year it could potentially even be better.
Yeah.
I think that we're still going to have more inventory because our trajectory of inventory has been on the incline since October of last year. Actually, since before October of last year, our inventory has been like ticking up.
Yes.
And there's nothing that's kind of flatlining it yet. Yeah. So I think there's still yet more inventory to come.
No, exactly. Last year we were talking about it. I remember in one of our podcasts, we were talking about do you think we're going to get to 1 million homes? We were talking about that. Remember, I'm like, there's just no way. And we're not going to see a big uptick either this coming year. Like people are saying, we're going to see a 20% more increase of homes for sale. That's not the case. Even a 10% is too hard to predict.
Yeah.
Because the norm isn't that. And it hasn't been ever.
My guess was, I think, totally wrong.
It's hard to guess that, right? I mean, that's why we go to Alto's research, because they bring you really good data, and their data supports the facts.
So I'm sorry, did I just hear that correctly? That you're saying that research is actually something
it does. I listen to him all the time. The guy's great. It helps you understand your market, right? Especially when you're just kind of but you're just focusing your area. It's cool to understand that information.
Yeah. I know data's really boring on the surface, but it actually tells you a lot. When you can step back and look at everything, it really does tell you what's actually happening.
I had a nerd moment the other day talking to clients and asking how we monitor rates going between the 10-year and the mortgage-backed securities, and if the 10-year is down, then rates might be down, and if the MBSs are down, then that means rates might be up. And explain it to them. He's a math major. I showed him some graphs. He's like, wow, this is great. I love graphs. And I'm like, I just love, seeing the data and being able to say, hey, rates are up, rates are down. And he's like, I enjoy the numbers. I'm like,
I know.
Touché.
It's so funny, right? Because I had a client call me yesterday, and they're like, but the Fed reduced the Fed funds rate by another 0.25%. Right? And I'm like, that for us, it means nothing. The 10-year treasury is going to determine that for us. So it's like, and he just had a hard time understanding that. And again, it's just, we have a new president, so our rates are going to, no. The president has some type of influence, but he doesn't determine that.
He doesn't wake up and think that. By the way, I think I'm having my favorite part of the show right now. I know we're going to ask you at the end what's the favorite part of the show. I'm having mine right now. Both you guys talking about data, 10-year yield. I'm over here holding back tears. I'm having a super proud show host moment. You guys talk about the 10-year yield and charts. Yeah. I love you guys.
We just want to be better for our clients. We want to be better for the decisions we make as we move forward.
I know it's stale. I know it. I know outside looking in, it's super stale. But like this is the difference. If you can look at the chart and know which way we're going, why we're going there, what's going to take us there, what won't, you can better inform people. It's like, look, if I go to my attorney's office and they don't know what the law is, that's not going to help me get out of the situation I'm in or get myself through the problem that I'm trying to solve. So, likewise for us, like, I know sometimes it's boring to talk about these things for people, but like we need to know it so we can share it and communicate that and translate it to everybody.
Yeah.
So thank you guys for being on board with that.
Yeah, I know.
Let's go.
Okay. Someone here was saying that we're on the brink of a buyer's market. I wanted to ask you guys, like, do you think that? Because I was saying the whole scale thing earlier, like it's balancing out, but I don't see it going further than that.
Based on what the article says, 4.3 months of housing supply, highest since 2019, 58 days on the market, slowest since October 2019, and median home prices decreased to $424,950, which is 18.6% of the home experiencing price cuts. So, I mean, based on the data and what they're saying, yes. But not officially tipped over to a buyer's market.
Yeah, and here we are. I agree. I think it is a buyer's. Again, we have more supply. How is it that we have more supply, right? In 2022, it wasn't a buyer's market because there was a lack of supply and homes were just going off the shelf. So I have to agree that just because San Diego doesn't seem like that, that's just because we're here. But see, now that we're approved nationwide, we have purchases in Hawaii, we have them in Florida, have in Pittsburgh, and in Oregon. I'm seeing seller concessions.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
I'm seeing seller concessions. I have seller concession for $28,000. Florida was another $20,000. Oregon was $5,000. So we're seeing seller concessions, and we're seeing that they give even longer periods of time, 45-day escrows. Unlike San Diego,
really,
it's like all about 14 days, 15 days.
14.
Over there, 45. I'm used to 16 or less, right? So it's like, there's no pressure over there. It almost feels like an eternity, Andy.
It's like being like a drive-through. Like, I'd like to order a house, pull up to window 2 and pay for it.
Exactly.
What? You can't close like that.
So remember, these articles are based like on a nationwide. So I have to agree with this. It is becoming, and I see the inventory, and I see a lot of buyers, they're pulling out. The one that I was representing in Oregon, he got an escrow 4 times and pulled out.
4 times?
4 times.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
And he ended up going with the flip. And of course, the flip, you already know investors, they want to give you a good home.
And so the flip had all the new features and all the upgrades. Wow.
They didn't have to worry about anything.
Wow. So maybe that's more of the tail of the tape right now. That's what sellers are really competing against, is the house that is updated and looks really nice versus your old ass house you're trying to sell at the same price as the one down the street is looking nice.
And we don't want to say an old house, right? We want to say
I will say old ass house. Sorry.
I just, everybody has their own taste, right? And how they do things, but some people can't afford. The thing is, a lot of people can't afford to go in there and repaint the home, put new doors, right?
Yeah. I'm not going to belittle people. I'm just saying that
I know.
No, here's what I'm telling people. Those of you who think your house is worth top dollar, but you haven't cared for it, that's what I'm saying.
There you go.
If you can't afford it, I get that.
Yeah.
We can handle that.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to address these people that are like, I think my house is worth $1 million. The one next door is worth $350. No.
Yeah. The good thing is the comps are going to reflect
that. No.
The comparable sales comparables
They're
going to
find out.
They're going to know.
They're going to know. So, Brian, you were talking about 18. Did you say 18% of listings have price reductions?
Yeah, 18.16% of homes are experiencing price cuts.
So what's crazy is I think, I'm going from my memory here. I don't have this written down, but
offering buyers better negotiation opportunities.
Okay, I want to say that traditionally it's between 30 and 36%.
Yeah.
Because again, and references in future show. This might have been months ago now, but we talked about this. One of our articles covered about how the percentage of homes experiencing price decreases is between 30 and 35%.
Correct.
Historically, but that could even be like $100 or $1,000.
Exactly.
So it still gets tucked in there. So the fact you said 18, that's actually a big difference from the traditional average.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
we heard it the last time with the Altos with 38%.
Yeah. So, okay. So. Well, thank you for refreshing my memory because I didn't remember the. Yeah, dude, you're on it. He's so on it. He's like, I'm so on it. You should be going on to the next article. Yeah. Fine. Okay. I'll go to the next article. On it. What to expect from the 2025 housing market from housingwire.com. You guys, this one is honestly totally up for grabs, 100% up for grabs. I don't know that we're going to see a 2025 that looked like 24 because 24 didn't look like 23, and 23 definitely didn't look like 22. So this is as much predictive from our perspective as anything. I honestly think we're going to still see prices hover and stay. I think mortgage rates are going to decline a little bit, but not a lot. And I think that it's going to be get the other economic relief that people see in their budget that's going to actually help them across the affordability line.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree with you 100%. Home prices are they're going to stay stable. We've seen it nationwide. It went down just a little bit, but it's still higher than it was the previous year, and so on and so forth. So I believe right now we're at 423.
Something like it's 423, 24. It's like it's right there.
The year prior to that was like 418, 19, somewhere around there. Yeah. So still, we're there.
And it was in the high 300s like 3 years ago. So it's it's not declining fast enough for us to say it's in correction territory. Yeah. Correction territory would be a 10% change to the downside. Yeah. We ain't even close to that.
I mean, hey, Andy, I had a client. I'm looking into. They're purchasing another home, and we have to put in real estate schedule owned their current property. They bought that for $823,000 in 2023.
823. Okay. All right.
I forget what month, but it was in 2023, just a couple of years ago, a year and change ago. Mm-hmm. And I looked at the comps; they were like 1.2.
What?
Yes.
In 24 months?
Correct.
Or
less.
Less than 24.
Yes.
That's crazy.
I was like, what the heck? That's huge.
That's a lot. That's like a 20% increase. Correct. Just in what, matter of a year and a half? Less than 2?
That's crazy. I was like, come on, I was like, come on, like really? I mean, I didn't do a sales comparable, but I put right there, it's worth about 1.2.
Okay, so so this is leaning a lot, guys, on the pending sales numbers, on inventory numbers. So, my expectations are we're going to see more inventory because of some of the things I had mentioned in the previous segment of the show. I think we're going to actually see more people sell because buyers are getting not selective, but they're having more choices now than they did before because inventory is higher. I think that sellers who are going to be entering their new season of life, if you will, short term, that's my short code for retiring. Yeah. I think that you're going to start seeing those people who are now retiring in 2, 3, maybe 5 years. They're going to probably start making some choices in 2025, knowing that if prices stay, I got to make that move now. My folks did that in 2018. Yeah. They sold their place in 2018, bought one in the place they were retiring to 6 years ago now, which guess what? Doubled in price. Yeah. Happened to turn out that way, but that was their choice because they were looking at the time horizon going, I know I'm going to retire in 2 years or 3 years, and they had pulled that trigger. I think we're going to see a lot more of that, especially from our boomer crowd.
No, I agree. I think we're going to have more competitive rates in 2025. If we can see 6%, that means you'll be able to buy it into the 5%, which I think will be healthy for the market. Anything lower than that is going to go bananas, and everybody's going to be jumping into the market, and we go right back to the same
We were
problem.
there in September.
We were there
for 3 weeks.
And I mean, you saw how crazy.
How crazy was it, right?
But from night to day, and then you see how things go really quick, and then they slow down because the market can't support that amount of demand at that present time. But I think moving forward, if the inventory increases like we see in this graph right here, in the last 4 years, 2024 is leading the way with inventory rising going into the new year. Mm-hmm. So if that trend continues, then we can really predict that price appreciation is going to continue, and then leverage increase home sales. So basically, if you see homes are for sale, you as the buyer, if you work with a knowledgeable agent, you use the data to your favor, you can really negotiate and put yourself in a position to get a really good deal because you can leverage all the information going into 2025 and use this data of 2024 to prepare yourself in 2025 to be ready to pull the trigger.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I think the rate comment is interesting to me because if you get into the 6s and you can buy down into 5s, I think that's the way to go.
Yeah.
Underneath that you're not saying is something we talked about previously, which is I think that the Fed and economists at large are using code talk for everybody get used to this as normal.
Yeah.
Everyone's starting to talk about the days of 4, those gone. 5s, maybe. But we ain't there yet, and we're not going there for a while. So I think they're slow walking everyone into this delicately talk. Get used to it.
Yeah. It could have also been a test. So let's see what that looks like. Let's see if we can see how that looks like if we go to the 4. And they're like, whoa.
But that's like a flash. That's like a flash flood of loans coming in. But then again, normalizing the market. I think inflation is a big problem with this. I've said this before publicly. The Fed is not correcting inflation. They're chasing it. Yeah. And a lot of times they're actually the cause of it. That's a whole different tangent. There's a lot of videos on that on the internet. Go look for some of them. You'll find them.
So, our deficits and all that, it creates inflation.
Yes.
So
spending
we need to start
creates
paying,
inflation.
So we need to stop.
But I think the whole normalizing of our rate environment now is really the kind of code talk I hear and I see, even in writing, yes, you're going to contend with people who are saying, well, we're still not affordable enough. There's still not enough properties. There's still pricing is out of whack. Yeah, that's all still true, but you're still telling people, well, you're going to have to get used to it. But this is why I said earlier, the relief is going to have to come from somewhere else. If the claim is true that Trump's going to come in and say 10% cap on credit card rates, that will provide some relief for people. Of course. There. If somehow the tariffs don't negatively hurt us, but they actually help us, that could help on the budget, which can help affordability. I think they're hoping that that's the case so that they don't have to rely on the rates to do the work.
Yeah.
That's my theory. That's my theory of the case.
Yep. Well, that's another topic.
Agree, disagree?
No, I agree. The thing with the whole tariffs and all that good stuff, it's honestly, it could be a catch-22, but we'll see. You know, What I do like about it is he wants to focus here. Like, why don't we build here, charge everyone else this higher tariff? Because just even a 10% would make a huge difference about a way of how to pay down this deficit that we're in.
Right. But the question that keeps coming up is, who's paying that 10%? Well, it's going to hit you on the shelf. It's going to hit you in the pocket because I'm going to go buy that thing that now has a higher price tag. Yeah. But the whole point is maybe I'm not buying that. I'm buying something that's here instead.
That's here instead, so that we can start bringing our prices lower for what our cost of goods. And now everybody else pays a tariff for
the things that are enough
that we're selling, right? It
should be.
In theory, yes, absolutely, that would work. I would love for that to work out because I also think that there's absorbable costs as well because if we can control some energy stuff too, and energy makes its way through the entire economy and all the things that we pay money for, then that could produce some reduced costs. People who are anti-capitalist go, no, capitalist pigs are just going to keep the margin and take the profit. That could be true, but if you have some absorbable costs that reduce your load of carrying inventory, then that could make its way to the shelf and actually impact people in their pockets. So I'm hopeful for that. We'll just see what that has. We'll see if that happens. By the way, separate tangent, this whole grocery store thing about like grocery stores are greedy. Like, did you guys hear the stat from PBD that like the grocery stores, they on average make 1% profit
their
after expenses?
Very slim margin.
Do you really think so? It's minimal like that?
Yeah. But okay, fine. Hold on. Even if it's 10%.
Yeah.
It's not 30.
Yeah.
It's still 10.
Yeah.
Would you run a business on a 10% profit margin without taking a second look and going, is this even worth
but
doing?
They have volume, stores everywhere, but
I mean, is that up to like Walmart's too? I sincerely doubt that, especially since everything's coming from
China,
India, China. Like they're getting everything, for cheaper.
Yeah, I don't know who is baked into that number, but I heard it and I'm like, how do you run a business on a 1% margin? Like that's not even room for like errors. I mean, that's a big 1%.
That's a big 1%. I want to know what that comes out to.
That seems very tight.
1%.
Yeah,
that seems very tight.
I mean, when you saw that empty building that we have right here started with the Albertsons, it's been gone for a while.
That thing's been boarded up for years.
Since I was in elementary, that thing has been out of business, and that's not that long.
Dude, whatever. That was like 12 years ago now, or 10, something like that.
Getting younger, Brian. You're getting younger, Brian.
Yeah, right. So 2025, guys, what else do you think it's going to look like? Any final thoughts? What you think the housing outlook is for the new year?
I mean,
I think sellers that need to sell are going to be up on the market, and hopefully someone gives them a good deal for Christmas.
Yeah. Yep. I agree. I think it's going to be more sellers, more inventory. I think rates are going to take a little bit of a breath coming into the new year.
You bring up a good point.
Go ahead.
I was looking at the mortgage-backed securities from last year in November, exactly, and rates were actually higher per the graphs. And into December, rates started to ease up, and I was looking at the trajectory from October into November into December, and there was a lot of similarities where in November, towards this time, it was uncertain. It was choppy. It was like this, and then into December we started seeing it go up, and then we started easing up, which we had a really good December. So fingers crossed that the data and the patterns, similarly bring something like that into the end of the year. So I'm very hopeful, and if that's the case, it's gonna be good for people going into 2025.
Yeah. I mean, I think rates are gonna still continue to be where they're at. They're gonna stay where they're at right now for a while.
Yeah, the Fed isn't tipping their hand that they're going to do anything.
And I mean,
to help
we heard
the
it when
markets
we're
beyond
at
what they're doing.
Yeah, when we went to UWM, even Matt Ishbud, and they have all these financial analysts out there. They already predicted this is what's going to happen. But here's the thing: people need to pay debt. People are getting in credit card debt right now, and it's happening every time we're running credit. I mean, you just talked about this with a client. Last year, we did cash out. This year, here it goes again. And it's not because of their bad habits of a client's. It's just inflation is a real thing.
I was looking at it, and they're really just getting ate up by interest. I mean, they do have high payments, but if you tack on the interest on top of that, you're drowning yourself every month and more and more and more. So it's like I have no choice. And we talked about it. I'm like, do you want to consolidate into a lower rate or keep paying these 30%? At least you have everything under one roof, your rate's fixed, and then down the line you could bring that down even lower and beat out your quote unquote debt even more.
Yeah.
So I think. Good time to move into 2025.
I mean,
good times moving ahead. Good times ahead. Choo choo.
Yeah, change is good. You know what I mean? And I'm just looking forward to the new change. But I think 2025, we're gonna see more homes available. We're gonna start seeing not a huge uptick on it, but it'll be pretty fairly slow but gradual and good.
Okay. Well, we're going to close today, guys, with kind of a little bit more talk specifically about mortgage rates going into the new year. CNBC came out with this week. It said mortgage rates may be stabilizing after the election. Here's what to expect into early 2025. So they're using the word stabilization as a good sign for the housing market. But is stabilization what we want? Don't we want rates to go lower?
Of course. We always do.
So what do you make of this whole stabilization talk?
Back to what you said, conditioning the new norm.
Okay. What else? Anything?
I like that.
Yeah, just continue. No, we're just soft lying to people.
Yeah.
Or trying to sell them. We're trying to sell them on the idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the things I saw here, they're saying the steadiness of mortgage rates may be a good sign for the market, but I'm not sure if it's good for sellers yet because they're buyers right away.
Yeah.
And that's kind of always the case. I know that's like, duh. Yeah. Well, when you sell a house, you're going to probably most likely buy one unless you're selling your house and you're going into like a retirement home or something.
Yeah.
You're buying another one. So I don't know how much further we need to go, but I think there's still more room before people agree that they should be selling. We've seen an increase in inventory, but the trajectory is still going that way, which means there's probably some more people waiting that would indicate we need rates to go a little bit softer, and then those people will
Yeah,
show
because
up.
they're going to buy too, right? And
exactly.
People who are holding back right now are people who don't need to sell. But people who are getting, work orders elsewhere, it's a must. It's just, I got to see what I'm going to be able to sell, and figure out what I'm going to do now.
And the fixed income is a big part of that, because I was thinking about that. I was reading this one in prep. I was like, I think fixed income is really going to be where people make that move because they're waiting for that maybe 0.5% or even whole percent if it gets there. Whole percent decline. Stabilization does not make me comfortable, to be honest, guys. I don't really want stabilization right here. I think there's more room to go to the downside for mortgage rates specifically, because I think that we're relying too much on other factors to make up for high mortgage rates that I don't know we're going to see actually prevail.
No,
I
exactly.
hope they do.
And it already says it here on this article, right? They foresee inflationary policies, whether it's tariffs or greater government spending, the tax bill, they're pricing in more inflation. It's already getting priced in. We're already going through that. That's what happened when the client called me and said, "Hey, but they reduced the Fed funds rate by 50%, right?"
Sure.
We were already getting better pricing 3 weeks prior to that announcement.
Yeah.
And now, then we got that the government's going to go ahead and reduce it again. The Fed funds, Uncle Powell, is going to reduce it by another 0.25%. And guess what? The rates went up instead for us.
It's because it's predictive, and I think that's the part that people miss is they don't understand, or they haven't been taught maybe that it's predictive. Yeah. So they're forecasting what they think needs to happen now to achieve the outcome they want down the line.
Correct.
And that's well and fine in its intention. I think it puts too much pressure on the mortgage rate itself. And again, I know I'm saying on one side, I'm like, I want these other factors to provide some ease for people financially. I'm also saying I'm not 100% trusting that that's going to happen because of what you're talking about. There are some things that are a little bit inflationary in part of this whole upcoming policy that we have yet to see. Yeah. But we're also hoping that there isn't inflationary stuff going on, and that all of a sudden people are going to magically snap your fingers and afford a house. Like, and something's got to give.
And here's one thing that people, or myself, I didn't understand before. Interest rate is not how the government borrows money, right? They borrow money based on the Fed funds rate, right? So by them lowering that with the money that we currently are in, what is it, like 33 trillion?
The trillions of
dollars deficit. So remember, they also... that's right. We just went to 35. So they borrow. Now they're going to refinance the loans based on that because now it's cheaper, right? Yeah. So that's what people don't need to understand more of why they're doing this. This is all strategic.
So here's something that I want to just bring up. I'm going to read this verbatim because I want to make sure I read it clearly, and I'm going to tell you my quick take. From a monetary policy standpoint, Future rate cuts are up in the air. Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell said Thursday that strong U.S. economic growth will allow policymakers to take their time in deciding how far and how fast to lower interest rates. I don't like the sounds of that at all.
But Andy, people are still spending money.
Hold on, I know that, but think about how long it took us to get here.
Yeah.
If you're on, I'm gonna use a amusement park ride as an analogy here. If you're going tick 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 all the way up, and then it kind of goes, and then it goes down, like kind of, it doesn't go like tick 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 flat, flat, a little bit down, flat, flat. I know we're not on a roller coaster ride in real life, but like honestly, we need to go back in that direction a little bit quicker. I understand the economic argument. That's going to cause more inflation right away. We have an affordability problem. We have a borrowing problem. We have a spending problem. Something has to give. One of these legs of the table has to fall so we can start doing some corrective stuff because we're just fighting this. We're fighting this circular game financially, and I don't like that Jerome Powell is already soft selling us the idea that they're going to take their sweet ass time. Yes, I said that.
Yeah, they don't want us to have fun, Andy, like when you do on the roller coaster.
I know, I'm talking about roller coaster. Like, hey, you know what sounds good right now? Going on an actual roller coaster, not an emotional one.
Because I've just been an emotional one.
But how crazy is it that he's like, you know, they just like, it's almost like it's kind of buried, and they're like, oh yeah, future rate cuts are up in the air. Wait, what'd you say?
Yeah.
Future rate cuts are up in the air. So I don't know. That also says to me that they made a mistake. I'm going to say that too. That means that they made a mistake because that means they should have held higher for longer, even though no one wants that. Yeah. But it might have been what they actually mechanically had to do in order to affect the outcome of prices coming down that they actually were trying to
So in
to
December,
accomplish.
you think there's going to be a rate cut or not?
I think they're going to. I'm 50-50. And I'm actually tell you why. I have a technical reason and a non-technical reason. So I think they could reduce the rate because they know they should and they need to.
Yeah.
I think they may not because Jerome Powell wants to dig his heels in on the new administration.
Okay.
And say, you're not the boss of me. I ain't doing it until I'm ready.
Until 2026.
No, until 2025.
Oh, 25 is it? I thought it was 26 he's there.
No.
Dropping rates. He's not going to drop rates until 2025.
I mean, dig his heels and not give the incoming administration a win in the win column. I'm just going to, you know what? I'm not going to do a rate cut. I'm going to hold my posture until we have our new meeting in the quarter one. I think that could happen.
I can see that.
Yeah.
And that's more of a gamesmanship thing than a technical thing.
I feel confident they're going to do it.
You think they're going to do it?
Yeah,
okay.
I think they're going to. I'm like at 80.
80%?
Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, I'm not going to put money on that because I said 50-50, and I'm not going to win anything.
I just said no, so we'll see.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I mean, if you guys have anything more to talk about mortgage rates, we don't need to talk about this any longer.
That's just like it's.
No, it's just look. It's going to be what it is. We're going to have to watch this very closely. We talk about mortgage rates internally all the time. We talk about it on the show regularly enough. If you have questions,
I dream about them.
You need to reach us. You know how to reach us. Let us know. We'll talk about your specific situation.
Yeah, I just again, with the interest rates and the home prices being where they're at, if we're going to get our kids into homes, we're going to need the lower rates for them to be able to afford this. That's just, our kids, as soon as they get out of college, what do they want to do? Yeah. They want to go out there, find a wife or a husband, have some kids, create a family, and they want the whole American dream,
the whole thing,
right? Like, and this is right now with rates being the way it's at, with home supplies being the way it's far of a reach for them.
So tell me about your favorite part of the show today, Memo.
Housing. It's housing. I got to go with the presidency of what their debates were and stuff. Actually, what they did agree about was, Kamala wanted to give a $25,000 credit. He's looking into, using some of the government federal land. I think that's great. Now that that's a topic and it's a big concern, I think that's what we need to start talking about. And that's just going to bring work for everybody too. That's going to get, hopefully not get corporate America to just be or make it a renter's market for all of us.
Something we didn't talk about in that section, which I just thought about right now, is that, we're talking about expanding construction. You had mentioned that 418,000 homes a year in the 70s was our clip, and now it's like 55,000, something like that. Well, all of a sudden, if you open up the inventory faucet, we're going to have new work, and we can pull in labor force. Even if we do lose some labor force, it's going to have a demand pull effect into construction that might actually help us on the labor side. I didn't think about that before. It just dawned on me right now. So maybe we could see a positive outcome on the labor side on that case. So, Brian, what was the favorite part of the show for you?
I like what we just discussed when we talked about right now maybe the best time for home buyers in 5 years. I think there was a lot of stuff that was true, a lot of things that people can take from, and we had a good conversation over that.
Awesome. I have to very proudly tell you both that the favorite part of my show was when I said, this is the favorite part of the show for me today. And you guys talking nerdy to me. I love it. Thank you so much, guys. All these years of screenshotting you charts and graphs and explanations that we're not falling on deaf ears. I love you guys. Great job. Thank you for humoring me, but also for real though, thank you for digging in and like knowing the inner workings of how things work, because I think it's critical and crucial, especially going into uncertain times for some people and definitive times for others. They're making their last move. They're going to sell their house for the last time. They're going to retirement. Like, we got to know these things. I love you. I love you too. You guys did a great job.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Love you guys.
Thank you guys for being on the show today. Thank you for bringing it.
Of course. We're back to be from Michigan too. So, you know, and here we are. Hey, and remember, we're approved in every state.
That's right.
Right? Well, almost every state except for 4.
I know. Almost all.
Yeah, almost all.
Watch, we're going to get 4 people that comment the 4 states we can't do.
Yeah.
God dang it. Thanks
Don't say them.
Yeah. All right. Well, Brian, Memo, thank you guys for a great show. Thank you all for watching. Remember to subscribe to the channel, like the video, send this video in long form or any of our segments from this video to people you know, love, and trust to help them win in mortgage and real estate. And we will see you guys again next week.
Bye, guys.
See ya.